I shall now review Witches, Feminism, and the Fall of the West by Professor Edward Dutton. Previously, we looked at Professor Edward Dutton's book, At Our Wit's End, at David Irving's book, Hitler's War, and at Oliver Perrin's book, Vinculum. I rated them on a number of metrics. These metrics are now applied to Witches, Feminism, and the Fall of the West. Books are for reading, so does this book invite me to read? First, we consider the size of the book. It is about 230 pages long. It is just about too big to hold in one hand. I find two hands more comfortable, since the book is a bit too tall for one hand. This could have implications for what you can do while reading. Moving on to the title, it tells us exactly what the book is about in as few words as possible. It is possible that you would not know if the book will be philosophical, political, or scientific, but I do not suppose that it matters. The title sits atop an image of a witch being burned at the stake. I find that the image and the text obscure each other. Neither leaps off the page, and I have to look a little harder than I expect in order to read the title. Maybe the title should have been across the top with the image underneath. It is an otherwise striking cover. The blurb on the back is detailed, but it is a bit of a wall of text. Luckily, one need only read the first paragraph. The blurb serves as an abstract for the book. The reader, once curious about the title, can learn more about the book here. The spine is black with white text. I am not sure if the title's font lets it stand out much from a row of books, but it has a small leaf shape, which helps. The language used in the book is clear and concise. This is a work of science, and it must distill much research into digestible chunks. It is also meant for the layman, so technical terms are explained with examples, step by step. In fact, most complicated concepts are helpfully explained with examples. Whether or not the examples would satisfy a specialist, I am not sure, but they are sufficient for the layman and help me to read on, so they achieve their aim. Sentences, paragraphs, and sections are short, and the reader does not get lost in a sentence, forgetting how it began by the time he reaches the end. Despite the amount of science and research, the book lacks any figures. This is not a problem, but some other readers might have liked some. Then again, perhaps there was no particular data that could be shown more efficiently than it could be described. Footnotes are present in abundance. Pages are frequently half text, half footnotes. The authors cited range from Dutton himself and colleagues to religious works, Roger Scruton, and the Cheshire Records Office. The latter is from primary research conducted for the book by the author. I appreciate the dedication. The book is a comparison between witches of yore and feminists of today. The first half of the book, roughly, is witches, and the second half is feminists. This has the advantage of giving each a continuous thread. This suits the scientific style where concepts build progressively towards the final proof. Each chapter has a main topic, but each subtopic has its own section, which builds on information previously introduced and on the information newly introduced for the section. We are always learning and building up the case put forward by the book. Alternatively, the book could have presented the argument with comparison between witches and feminists for each topic. Rather than have 3 chapters for witches and 3 for feminists, there could have been 1 each alternating. That would have made the comparison easier, but would have broken up the flow regarding either witches or feminists. The font size and line spacing makes it easy to read, and one can focus on the substance without getting bogged down. Perhaps this is a reason not to include figures, which can be awkward to place neatly between paragraphs and can appear far from their associated text. The book covers the society in which witches lived, why the people who were witches were a threat to the society in general, and then we are given specific examples. The structure is basically repeated for the feminists: the societal context, the problem with feminist influence, and specific feminists. People familiar with Dutton's work might anticipate the latter sections, but the book has much useful information on witches and their society. The individual chapters are excellent resources by themselves, even without the rest of the book. The author occasionally anticipates objections to his arguments and mounts defenses against them. It is thorough work, but I am not sure that it is needed. There was also a section about heretics rather than witches that I thought was a digression. There is a bit of anecdotal evidence presented, which seems incongruous with the harder evidence presented everywhere else. At the same time, it could be considered primary research. It is certainly not padding. The book is full of information, with each sentence serving the purpose of presenting the argument and backing it up with data. The author has taken the time to go through the steps of building the case so that the reader is not left behind. The book is here to make a case, and everything follows from that, the information and concepts provided, the development of ideas, and the pace thereof, and cosmetic things like the cover do not matter so much. I enjoyed the book very much and I learned from it. I recommend it.